Recently we read The Catcher in the Rye a couple of weeks ago over Christmas break, more or less. And this video we're going to discuss a couple of the ideas and the concepts that were displayed in the book.
We're choosing to discuss two main concepts which both involve Holden. The first is how he tends to call nearly everyone he meets old, not really depending on their age at all. But the second one is how he seems to be stuck in the past, often referring to people that are not near him anymore.
Upon reading The Catcher in the Rye, we notice that Holden mentions the word old a lot of times. He is kind of repeating it so many times that it kind of becomes obvious it's not really just by chance. And he even calls his little sister Phoebe, who can't be more than 11, old.
Yeah, he also calls Stradlater old a lot, even though Stradlater's his roommate in school, so he really can't be more than maybe 2 years older than him.
Even when describing someone elderly, such as his former teacher, Spencer, he calls him old, I think, a lot more times than Spencer would have liked. But it's true that Spencer is elderly, but most authors will vary all the words and just make sure like they're not repeating a word. But in that one page, he mentions old 15 times and 6 times in one paragraph.
Yeah, Holden actually calls Spencer old 28 times in total, if not more.
And like, while a lot of the people that he mentions would be by his definition have lost their innocence, the fact that he calls Phoebe old is kind of demonstrating that, especially like in the carousel scene, it's really clear that he's not referring to the innocent sense of the individuals.
I think this is caused, actually, by Holden's cynical view of the world, and even though he does have a right to be cynical, he's still young, so he really
he doesn't know everything.
Yeah, he really shouldn't have such a serious outview on life.
Yeah, and his cynicism and his really serious way of taking on the world, it's really preventing him from being a happy individual that can look upon life. And while others do this, they get past that, but from the contents of the novel, it's kind of clear that he will never be able to do that.
Another more hidden topic that we found in The Catcher in the Rye is that Holden doesn't seem to be able to move on. Not in the way you'd think of, but he keeps referring to things that he hasn't interacted with in a really long time.
Yeah, and then another example of this is on page 171, where he's in DB's old room where Phoebe was previously sleeping, and they're talking. She asks him, what is he like? And he takes a really long time in answering this, but the really important fact is that he answers Allie, his dead brother.
Yeah, Allie was Holden's younger brother who died a really long time ago when Phoebe was no more than, 2.
Mm-hmm.
And, Phoebe replies that doesn't really count as an answer since Allie's dead, which proves that she has long since moved on from his death while Holden remains, clutching to deny of him.
And another example of this is Holden. He constantly thinks of James Castle Stradlater. And every situation's reminding me of, in the book, he's like, oh, this reminds me of Stradlater, this reminds me of Castle, and he goes on these long descriptions, and he just keeps thinking about them.
Yeah, it isn't too strange that he thinks about Stradlater, since he could always go back and visit him, and he was,
he's still alive.
Him. Yeah, he knew him well. But Castle, Holden didn't even like him, and he's dead, so he can never go back and see him. So there's no real sense.
Yeah, and he was thinking of the fact that he killed himself by jumping out the window, and just... and he basically really is refusing to let go of the memory of any deceased person that he was once close with. And really, Allie especially is heavy and deep in his mindset.
Once you reach the end of the book, you'll see that there are actually many hidden messages that are just waiting to be found by someone.
If you're willing to explore.